Christianity is Malaysia's third most popular religion. It is practiced by 9.2% of the population. Two-thirds of the 2.617 million Christians live in East Malaysia, which is in Sabah and Sarawak. They make up for 33% of the population. The main Christian denomination in Malaysia include Roman Catholic, Anglican, Baptist, Brethren, non-denominational church, Lutherans, Methodists, and Presbyterians. The Missionary Christian is a movement aimed to spread Christianity and its belief to the international community. This movement has already been the beginning of their work for decades. They use various methods to achieve their objective, either by forming organization or by using certain mediums until the Christianity spread and accepted worldwide.
The early history of the Catholic Christian movement in Sabah is traced based on the discovery of early historical facts of Borneo, stating that Father Odoric, a Franciscan prior, was the first Christian missionary to arrive in Borneo in 1332. It was then followed by other missionaries from Portugal, namely Tisto de Aroja, Joe da Vega, Antonio Pereira, Father Waitemala, and others. They were sent by the International Christian Organization. Their arrival in Borneo was also actually arranged by several international Christian organizations. For example, the sending of Antonio Waitemala made under the direction of Tea Time Mission in order to spread Christianity throughout the world. In Sabah, the missionary movement started to proselytize the local inhabitants as soon as the North Borneo Chartered Company or British North Borneo Company ruled the state in 1881. By the 20th century, there are several missionary bodies actively spreading Christianity in Sabah, including Mill Gospel, Anglican, Society for the Propagation of the Gospel, Lutheran, the Borneo Basel Self-Established Church, Seventh-day Adventist, Australian Church Missionary Society, and Borneo Evangelical Mission. The Borneo Evangelical Church, as a missionary body, was registered in Sarawak on 12 December 1959. However, the organization has been actively spreading Christianity since the 1920s under the Borneo Evangelical Mission. The priors who serve with the Borneo Evangelical Church are mostly graduates of the Melbourne Bible Institute, Australia. Hudson Sotwell, Trevor White, and Alan Butcher were among the famous Sidang Injil Borneo priors. On December 12, 1928, they arrived in Borneo and began Christian missionary work among the Dusun, Kelabit Lumbawang, and Bisaya. For remote areas that are difficult to reach by road, they use missionary aviation fellowship. Among the places involved are Ranau, Meligan, Long Pasir, Sipitang, Lawas, and Long Atip. In 1952, Missionary Aviation Fellowship flight successfully brought Christian missionaries to southern Sabah. With the help of local priors Ahmad Lasong and students from Lawas Theological School, they entered Meligan, Pensiangan, Keningau, and Tenum. The good relationship between Christians in Sabah and Australia remains until now. Many Christian youngsters are sent to study in Australia and secure position as a politician and government servants. Anglicans began to enter Borneo when King James Brooke ruled Sarawak. With Brooke's help, this missionary established churches, schools, and provided health service. This missionary then entered Sabah in 1883. Then, a special body called Borneo Church Mission Institution was set up to move the activity and got financial support from the Vicar Queen Adelaide. On June 29, 1848, an Anglican missionary appointed MacDougall as its first chief in Sabah. From this date, activities such as setting up churches, schools, and dispensaries began. At the beginning of their entry into Sabah, they focused their work on the villagers. This activity became more vigorous after MacDougall was appointed Bishop of Labuan and Sarawak on 22 October 1855.
The proselytization method. The majority of ethnic groups, including Kadazan Dusun, Chinese, and Murut, continue to exhibit a proclivity to adopt Christian religion. They are an ethnic group from the interior with no religious connection. These are some methods used by the missionary movement to proselytize the community in Sabah. First, methods of education through the church and schools. The missionary had the responsibility to educate the followers, specifically those who are already able to live with them through the interior. Their purpose in developing school not only provided a strong educational foundation, but also produced the first generation of indigenous Christians, paving the way for the emergence of progressive Christian intellectuals during Sabah's post-independence era. Next, establish several main centers for the Christian mission in Sabah, such as Theology School or Tinanggul Bible Training in Kampung Tinanggul in Kudat. The school was under the Protestant Church of Sabah, PCS. Bundu Tuhan Retreat Center in Ranau was the retreat center under the Roman Catholic Church. The Bundu Tuhan Retreat Center is one of the largest retreat centers in Sabah. Next is methods of contextualization. Contextualization is defined as changes made in accordance with the needs of the locals as far as the expansion of Christianity is acceptable. Missionaries must learn Malay and Kadazan language and understand the social culture of the community, as evidenced by the work activity of translating the Bible into the local and indigenous languages. Next, methods of syncretism. The concept of syncretism is to bring together indigenous religious belief with Christianity. The Harvest Festival, or Magawau in Kadazan Dusun language, is an example of the element of unity between traditional culture and Christianity, which has brought the spirit of paddy to be shown to the priests for blessing in their rites. Next, missionary also enhanced the agricultural economy. The locals were afraid to dig holes to plant paddy because they thought digging holes was just for bury the dying. After missionaries came and lived among them, these missionaries planted paddy on wide expanses of land and dug holes to plant various trees. So, this shows that initiative of missionaries was successful in diminishing the belief of the animism culture. And lastly, perspective of social services. Missionaries have to contribute effective health services to the indigenous peoples of Sabah's remote districts. The presence of medical personnel who simultaneously serve as missionaries aid the growth and acceptance of Christianity among the people of the interior in an indirect way. They also help to enhance health by providing clean pipe water. Missionary also held services in the longhouses. Aside from church development, the Basel Church worked on improving the living conditions of the people in the interior.
Proselytization in political power. In 1985, Joseph Sparing Kitingan established Parti Bersatu Sabah, PBS, as the political platform to fight politically for the Kadazan Dusun Murid and non-Muslim in Sabah. PBS won the 1985 and 1986 state election despite the federal government open to support for Sabah Muslim-based parties. PBS raised the issue of federal control over Sabah to create hatred among the people of Sabah against the federal government. For example, the issue of handing over Labuan Island to the federal government in 1984. PBS has many Christian supporters as well as the Kadazan Christian community and the Chinese population. Strategies in political power. Since the PBS won, the Christianization movement has utilized all of its intellectual capacity and energy to persecute Muslims more publicly and openly. Christians dedicate themselves to the spread of the Christianity. One of the objectives of Christian missionaries is to weaken trust and reduce the number of Muslims. The IDF, Institute for Development Study, establishment tended to be in the advantages of Kadazan and Christian. PBS CEO Datuk Joseph Pairin Kitingan hired his brother as an IDF advisor, Datuk Jeffrey. Then they furthered a group of apocalyptic, inspired, charismatic Christian movement that aggressively promote their Christian mission against others, including Muslims.
Institute for Development Studies. It is a non-profit organization established by the state government of Sabah to conduct research on economic, social, political, and public organizational development programs and make policy recommendations for possible implementation. The Institute for Development Studies' primary role is to assist the state government in developing sound policies and proposals to meet the people and state aspirations. The IDS also organizes conference, forum, workshop, and discussion on economic, social, and political stability. However, many development studies research projects were not complete to benefit all Sabah residents. For example, to improve well-being and the socio-economic environment, the study was conducted specifically to enhance the well-being and socio-economic status of the Kadazan, which emphasized close collaboration between the church and the government to improve the community life. The Institute for Development Studies received allocation and aids from the government of Sabah and financial and expert assistance from Western charity organization and Christian missionary organization in Canada, Germany, and the Philippines. The Institute for Development Studies as the advisor and the Public Broadcasting Service think tank group are responsible for ensuring that the Public Broadcasting Service is the only dominant political party in Sabah and creating propaganda about Islam. Because of the Western support, some Kadazan political or leading figures dared to openly criticize the Malaysian government and question the authority and credibility of the National Security Force. The Public Broadcasting Service, which Kadazan Christian dominate, aims to protect the interests of both the Kadazan and the Christian in Sabah.
We continue with the next topic, which is method of spreading Christianity in Sabah. Firstly, there are established churches throughout Sabah. This is one of the earliest steps taken by PBS was to set up churches wherever it could. What is the most saddening for the Muslim community is the existence of churches that are deliberately set up in the middle of Islamic villages and surrounding mosques. Next, they persuaded the newly converts their own religion, from Islam to Christian. This has been done through persuasion, spreading a bad news about Islam in the public and promoting interreligious marriage. From this way, they successfully converted out 700 people. Some of them reverted to Christianity and some left Islam. Besides, they also discriminated the Muslim civil servants by replacing them with Christian workers. There is no opportunity for Muslims to work there, but only 2 Muslims appointed in the cabinet of Sabah. However, they were given unimportant positions. Next, to prevent the growth of Islam, the government took control over the Majlis Ugama Islam Sabah. We move to the next slide. They established kindergartens to spreading these religions to the next generation. The basis of learning is highly emphasized in the community to make them aware that religious life is very important, because in the past, the people in Sabah were not believe the existence of God, so they took this chance to teach them about Christian. They also provide education to poor families who cannot afford to pay for the school fees. Next, they eradicate the manifestation of Islam in the public space by replacing Islamic culture with the Christian's way of life. And the last one is, there are another aspect or method to spread this religion, namely politics, trade and society. That's all from me. Thank you.
As a conclusion, There is no question that the presence of Christian missionaries play an important role in the development of the indigenous people of Sabah, especially those who live in the interior, through church education or formal school education. Several leaders and important government officers at state and federal level have publicly acknowledged this contribution. There were two objectives of Christian missionary in Sabah, which is to spread Christianity and simultaneously project themselves as the first group to give attention to the education of the indigenous people. The establishment of associations that hide behind the welfare play a role in spreading their agenda. One thing that I want to highlight about their so-called welfare is by baiting the people with reasons to help build the local economy that was affected by the poverty that happened to the local community in Sabah. So, the people who feel indebted to them will eventually follow their missionary.